A woman who knows your weakness. Good morning, friends. Today, I want to talk about something profound yet often overlooked: the power of a woman who knows your weakness. Not to exploit it, not to tear you down, but to love you through it. We live in a world where strength is celebrated and vulnerability is feared. We hide our weaknesses as if they're flaws that make us less worthy of love, of connection, of belonging. But what if I told you that the right person, the right woman, isn't someone who's impressed by your strengths, but someone who sees your weaknesses and doesn't flinch? A woman who knows your weakness is not someone who sees your flaws as a burden. She sees them as a gateway. She sees the cracks in your armor and says, "This is where I'll pour my love into." This kind of woman doesn't see your struggles as the end of the road. She sees them as the beginning of a journey dashed together. In today's world, strength often stands as the hallmark of success and admiration. It's celebrated, showcased, and sometimes even exaggerated to mask what lies beneath. We're taught from an early age to present our best selves, to put our strongest foot forward, and to always appear capable. Society applauds achievements, perseverance, and power, yet it leaves little room for the beauty of vulnerability. But let me tell you something: what truly builds connection, the kind of connection that changes lives, isn't strength. It's vulnerability. You see, strength can inspire admiration, but it often builds walls. When you only show people your victories, your polished and perfected self, they may clap for you, but they'll remain at a distance. They'll see the image you've carefully crafted, but they won't see you. And if people don't see the real you, how can they love you fully? Strength may impress people, but it doesn't allow them in. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is different. Vulnerability isn't about showing off your accomplishments or pretending you have it all together. It's about opening the door to who you really are: your fears, your flaws, your struggles, and yes, your weaknesses. Vulnerability says, "Here I am, not as I wish to be seen, but as I truly am." And that, my friends, is where connection begins. Think about it. When have you felt closest to someone? Was it during a moment of shared success, or was it during a moment of shared struggle? The truth is, our deepest connections often come from the times when we let our guard down, when we allow someone to see the cracks in our armor. Vulnerability creates a bridge between two souls, a bridge that says, "You're not alone. I see you and I understand." But here's the challenge: vulnerability is scary. It feels risky. When you show someone your weaknesses, you're giving them the chance to hurt you. You're saying, "Here are the parts of me that I usually hide. Here are the things I fear make me unworthy of love." That kind of openness requires courage. It takes a strength that isn't about muscle or bravado. It's about having the faith to believe that someone will meet you with compassion, not judgment. And let me tell you, when someone does, it's powerful. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and someone responds with love, not only do you feel seen, but you feel safe. That safety becomes the foundation of a bond that can't be shaken by the ups and downs of life. Vulnerability lets you connect with someone in a way that strength alone never could. The beautiful thing about vulnerability is that it's universal. Everyone has struggles. Everyone has doubts. Everyone has something they're not proud of. The difference between those who feel isolated and those who build deep, meaningful relationships often comes down to whether or not they're willing to share those parts of themselves. It's not about being weak, it's about being human. When you choose to embrace vulnerability, you're not just inviting connection, you're giving others permission to do the same. It becomes a ripple effect. Your openness encourages their openness, and suddenly, what seemed like a weakness becomes a shared strength. Vulnerability doesn't just build connection, it builds trust, empathy, and understanding. It reminds us that we're not meant to go through life alone, putting on a mask of perfection. We're meant to lean on each other to find strength in our shared humanity. So yes, strength may earn applause, but it's vulnerability that earns relationships. It's vulnerability that deepens love, strengthens bonds, and creates the kind of connection that doesn't fade when the lights dim and the applause fades. Strength may be what the world asks for, but vulnerability is what the heart truly needs. The right woman doesn't love you despite your weaknesses, she loves you through them. This might sound simple, but it's one of the most profound truths about meaningful relationships. In a world that often encourages us to hide our flaws and showcase only our strengths, finding someone who embraces every part of you, including the parts you try to hide, is rare and transformative. When someone truly loves you through your weaknesses, they aren't looking at you as a project to fix or a problem to solve. They're seeing you for who you are, a human being with strengths and struggles, successes and shortcomings. That kind of love is not conditional. It's not based on your ability to impress or your ability to meet some imagined standard of perfection. It's based on an understanding that being human means being imperfect, and it's within those imperfections that some of the most authentic, meaningful connections are formed. When a woman knows your weaknesses and still chooses to love you, she's saying that your worth isn't tied to your achievements or your ability to appear strong all the time. She's looking beyond the surface, past the mask that the world often asks you to wear, and into the heart of who you truly are. She doesn't flinch at the parts of you that feel unlovable. In fact, she steps closer to those parts, not to judge them, but to hold them with compassion and care. This kind of love requires a level of maturity and depth that goes beyond the superficial. It's not about being enamored by your charm, your appearance, or even your accomplishments. It's about seeing the real you, the raw, vulnerable, and sometimes messy parts of you, and choosing to stay. When she loves you through your weaknesses, she's not just offering you companionship, she's offering you a safe place to be yourself. She's saying, you don't have to have it all together for me to stay. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. What makes this love so powerful is that it doesn't just accept your weaknesses, it transforms them. When someone loves you in your most vulnerable moments, it changes the way you see yourself. The things you once thought were shameful or unworthy suddenly don't feel so heavy. Instead of feeling like you have to hide your struggles, you feel empowered to face them because you know you're not facing them alone. This love doesn't mean enabling bad habits or ignoring areas where growth is needed. In fact, it often does the opposite. When a woman loves you through your weaknesses, she believes in your ability to grow and improve. She sees your potential even when you struggle to see it yourself. She encourages you, not by demanding perfection, but by reminding you of your value, even in your imperfection. Her love becomes a mirror that reflects the best parts of you, even when you feel like you're at your worst. A woman who loves you through your weaknesses understands that everyone has struggles. She knows that strength isn't about never failing, it's about getting back up. Her love is rooted in empathy, the kind of empathy that comes from recognizing her own imperfections and knowing what it feels like to be vulnerable. She doesn't see your weaknesses as a liability or a reason to walk away. Instead, she sees them as an opportunity to stand by your side and walk with you through the journey. Her love challenges the way we often view relationships. It's not about finding someone who checks every box or meets every expectation. It's about finding someone who sees you for who you are and still says you're enough. This love doesn't shy away from the hard parts, it embraces them. It's patient. It's willing to do the work of building something real and lasting. When you let yourself be loved in this way, it's a reminder that your weaknesses don't make you less deserving of love. They're simply a part of your story, and the right woman doesn't just accept your story, she becomes a part of it. When someone truly loves you, it's not about fixing you or pretending that the difficult parts of you don't exist. It's about looking at the cracks in your armor, the vulnerable places where life has left its mark, and saying, this is where I'll pour my love into. There's something profoundly healing about being loved in those places you've worked so hard to hide. It's not just acceptance, it's grace in its purest form. We spend so much of our lives trying to shield our imperfections from the world. We cover up our insecurities, bury our doubts, and hide the parts of ourselves that we're afraid people will judge. Over time, those cracks in our armor can start to feel like shameful flaws, things we think we should fix before we're worthy of love. But what if those cracks aren't flaws at all? What if they're the very places where love is meant to take root? When the right person comes into your life, they don't see your weaknesses as reasons to step away. They see them as invitations to step closer. They recognize that those cracks in your armor tell a story of battles fought, lessons learned, and resilience built. And instead of fearing the vulnerability those cracks reveal, they see them as a chance to connect with you on a deeper level. This kind of love isn't transactional. It's not about keeping score or expecting perfection in return. It's about giving freely without condition, because that's what real love does. Real love doesn't wait for you to fix yourself before it shows up. It shows up first. It meets you where you are, even in your most broken places, and says, you don't have to be perfect for me to love you. When someone pours their love into your weaknesses, it's not about pity or charity. It's about seeing your humanity and honoring it. It's about saying, I know you're not perfect, and neither am I, but I choose to be here with you anyway. That kind of love has the power to shift the way you see yourself. It takes the parts of you that you once thought made you unworthy and turns them into the very foundation of connection. This doesn't mean that love erases pain or magically fixes all your problems, but it does mean that you don't have to carry the weight of your struggles alone. When someone pours love into your cracks, they're saying, let me share the load. Let me remind you that you don't have to have it all together all the time. It's a reminder that love isn't about being invincible, it's about being real. What's beautiful about this kind of love is that it isn't afraid of the mess. It doesn't turn away from the hard conversations, the difficult days, or the moments when you feel like giving up. Instead, it leans in. It says, this is where love matters most, not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones. Not when everything is perfect, but when everything feels like it's falling apart. When love pours into your cracks, it transforms them. It doesn't erase them, but it fills them with something stronger than fear or shame. It fills them with a sense of worthiness, a reminder that your imperfections don't make you less, they make you human. And being human is enough. This love is grace in action. It doesn't demand that you change who you are to deserve it. Instead, it shows you that you're already deserving. It's a love that says, even in your brokenness, you're beautiful. Even in your struggles, you're enough. Even in your weakest moments, you're worthy. When you allow yourself to receive this kind of love, it's not just healing, it's freeing. It frees you from the need to pretend, to perform, or to prove your worth. It allows you to take off the armor and simply be. Because in the end, love isn't about perfection, it's about connection. And the deepest connections are often found in the places where we're willing to let love in, even when we feel unworthy of it. When someone truly loves you through your weaknesses, it's not about enabling complacency or overlooking the parts of you that need growth. Instead, it's about challenging you to rise to the version of yourself you're capable of becoming. The right woman doesn't see your flaws and decide to leave you as you are. She sees your potential hidden beneath the surface and encourages you to reach it, not out of criticism or control, but out of a deep belief in who you are and who you can become. This kind of love doesn't push you down, it lifts you up. It's not about nagging, judging, or pointing out every mistake. It's about being someone who inspires you to want to do better, not because you feel pressured to change, but because her love makes you believe in yourself. Her belief in you becomes contagious. She holds you accountable in a way that makes you feel seen and supported, not condemned. Growth is not always comfortable. In fact, it's often painful. It requires you to confront parts of yourself that you may have ignored or tried to avoid. But when someone stands by your side through that process, it becomes less daunting. The right woman doesn't shy away from having the hard conversation. She's willing to tell you the truth, even when it's not easy to hear, because she cares about your future more than your comfort. That kind of honesty is a rare and powerful gift. There's a difference between someone who tears you down and someone who challenges you to rise. The woman who truly loves you through your weaknesses doesn't point them out to make you feel small. She points them out to remind you that you're capable of overcoming them. She's not interested in shaming you for where you've fallen short. Instead, she's invested in helping you move forward, to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. This doesn't mean she expects perfection from you, far from it. In fact, she knows that perfection isn't the goal. The goal is progress. The goal is to keep moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time. She understands that growth is a journey, not a destination, and she's willing to walk that journey with you. Her patience and understanding create a safe space for you to take risks, to stumble, and to get back up again. When you're with someone who truly believes in you, it shifts the way you see yourself. Suddenly, the doubts you've carried don't feel so heavy. The negative voices in your head lose their power. You start to believe that change is possible, not because you've magically fixed everything overnight, but because you have someone in your corner who reminds you that you're not alone. Her love becomes a mirror that reflects the best parts of you back to yourself, even when you can't see them on your own. This kind of love is both fierce and tender. It's not about lowering the bar or letting you stay stuck in patterns that don't serve you. It's about raising the bar in a way that makes you excited to reach for it. She's not just your cheerleader, she's your partner in growth. She's willing to challenge you when needed, but she does it with kindness and respect. She doesn't demand change, she inspires it. Her love also sets a standard for how you should treat yourself. When someone believes in you, it teaches you to believe in yourself. When someone pushes you to grow, it reminds you that you're worth the effort. Her love becomes a foundation for self-respect and self-improvement. It reminds you that you're not defined by your weaknesses, you're defined by how you choose to respond to them. The right woman doesn't just love the person you are today, she sees the person you're capable of becoming and loves you enough to help you get there. Her belief in you is unshakable, even on the days when you feel like giving up. She knows that growth isn't always linear, that setbacks are part of the process, and that the journey is just as important as the destination. Her love isn't about fixing you, it's about standing with you as you work to become the best version of yourself. Weaknesses are often seen as something to hide, something to overcome, or something to be ashamed of. We live in a world where we're constantly told to focus on our strengths, to present the best version of ourselves, and to downplay the parts of us that feel vulnerable or imperfect. But the truth is, weaknesses don't define you. They don't diminish your worth or your ability to connect with others. In fact, your weaknesses are often the very things that create the deepest bonds with the people who truly matter in your life. When you allow someone to see your weaknesses, you're not just opening yourself up to judgment or rejection, you're also opening yourself up to connection. It's in those moments of vulnerability that we discover who truly values us for who we are, not just for what we can do or the image we project. Weaknesses don't make you unlovable, they make you human. They remind others that you too are navigating life with its ups and downs, its challenges and imperfections. The people who genuinely care about you won't run from your weaknesses. They won't see them as something to exploit or something that makes you less. Instead, they'll see your willingness to be real as an invitation to connect on a deeper level. Your weaknesses become a doorway to trust, to understanding, and to the kind of relationships that go beyond surface level interactions. When someone truly loves you, they don't see your weaknesses as liabilities. They see them as opportunities to show up for you, to support you, and to remind you that you're not alone. We often think that in order to be loved or accepted, we have to present ourselves as strong, capable, and put together. But the irony is that the more we try to appear invulnerable, the harder it becomes for people to connect with us. Strength can inspire admiration, but it doesn't always invite closeness. Vulnerability, on the other hand, creates a space where love and connection can thrive. When you let someone see your struggles, your doubts, and your fears, you're giving them the chance to love you not for what you do, but for who you are. Weaknesses also have a way of teaching us about ourselves and others. They show us where we need growth, but they also show us where we need community. Nobody is meant to go through life alone, pretending to have it all together. Your weaknesses remind you that it's okay to lean on others, to ask for help, and to accept support when it's offered. They teach you humility and empathy, two qualities that are essential for building meaningful relationships. When you embrace your weaknesses instead of hiding them, you allow yourself to experience love in its most authentic form. It's easy for someone to love you when everything is going well, when you're at your best, or when life feels smooth. But the people who love you when you're struggling, when you're doubting yourself, or when you feel like you're at your lowest, those are the people who see your worth beyond your circumstances. They're the ones who remind you that love isn't conditional, that it's not something you have to earn by being perfect. Your weaknesses also create a space for growth, not just for you, but for the people around you. When you're willing to be vulnerable, you give others permission to do the same. You create an environment where honesty and authenticity are valued, where people can let down their walls and be themselves. In this way, your weaknesses don't just connect you to others, they inspire others to embrace their own humanity. The truth is, weaknesses are not something to be fixed or eliminated. They're a part of who you are, and they play a role in shaping the person you're becoming. They teach you resilience, they deepen your relationships, and they remind you that perfection isn't the goal. The goal is connection, and connection comes from being real. When you stop seeing your weaknesses as flaws and start seeing them as opportunities for connection, everything changes. You begin to realize that you don't have to be perfect to be loved. You don't have to have all the answers or always get it right. The people who truly matter in your life won't walk away because of your imperfections, they'll walk closer. They'll see your weaknesses as a chance to support you, to understand you, and to build a bond that's rooted in honesty and trust. The strength of a relationship is not measured by how perfect it looks from the outside, but by how deeply it is rooted in understanding, trust, and the ability to endure life's imperfections. A woman who truly loves you doesn't step away when she sees your struggles, she steps closer. She doesn't flinch when she encounters your vulnerabilities, your fears, or your insecurities. Instead, she meets them with a love that is steady and unwavering. That kind of love isn't just about standing by your side during the good times. It's about showing up during the hard times when the weight of life feels heaviest. When a woman stays through the storm, she isn't doing so out of obligation or pity. She stays because she sees the value in you beyond the challenges you're facing. She doesn't measure your worth by how strong or capable you appear in any given moment. She sees the person beneath the struggle, the person who is trying, the person who is learning, and the person who is growing. Her love is not dependent on circumstances, it's anchored in something deeper. There's a kind of strength that comes from being loved in your weakest moments. When someone chooses to stay when things are hard, it changes the way you see yourself. It gives you permission to stop pretending, to take off the mask, and to be real. It shows you that you don't have to carry the weight of your struggles alone. You don't have to face the world with unshakable confidence every day. You can be vulnerable, and you can lean on someone who is willing to share the load with you. This kind of love is rare because it requires a level of selflessness and understanding that not everyone is willing to give. It's easy to stay when everything is going well, when life is smooth and when challenges are few. But it takes a special kind of love to stay when things feel messy, uncertain, or overwhelming. It takes someone who understands that love isn't about convenience, it's about commitment. It's about choosing to stay when it would be easier to walk away. When someone stays with you through your weaknesses, they're not just offering you love, they're offering you a safe place to grow. They're showing you that your flaws don't define you, that your struggles don't make you unworthy, and that you're more than your mistakes. They give you the freedom to be imperfect, while also encouraging you to become the best version of yourself. They don't love you despite your weaknesses, they love you through them, and in doing so, they help you find the strength to rise above them. This doesn't mean that love is always easy or without challenges. There will be moments of frustration, misunderstanding, and even conflict. But the difference is that someone who truly loves you isn't afraid to work through those moments with you. She's not looking for perfection, she's looking for authenticity. She's willing to have the hard conversations, to face the uncomfortable truths, and to walk with you through the process of growth. Her love isn't about fixing you, it's about being there as you work to find your way. The beauty of someone staying through your weaknesses is that it redefines what love can look like. It's not about grand gestures or flawless appearances. It's about the quiet moments of patience, the steady presence in times of uncertainty, and the unwavering belief in who you are, even when you doubt yourself. It's about knowing that love isn't something you have to earn or deserve. It's something that is freely given, even in your most vulnerable moments. This kind of love also builds resilience, not just within the relationship, but within you. When someone stands by you, even when you feel unsteady, it reminds you that you're not alone. It gives you the courage to face your challenges head on because you know that no matter what happens, there's someone who believes in you. It's not about being dependent on their support. It's about finding strength in the connection you share. Staying through someone's weaknesses isn't just an act of love, it's an act of faith. It's believing in the value of the relationship and in the potential for growth, both individually and together. It's about creating a foundation of trust and understanding that can weather the storms of life. And it's about showing that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice to stay, to support, and to believe in when the path ahead feels uncertain. Thanks for watching.